Hello, everyone. How you doing?
Hello yet again.
Yet
We are
again.
back.
Yeah, we're back and I was chastised for not doing this the last episode, so I suppose I have to do it today. We're back for Skye and Evan in the morning. So,
Ah,
yeah, I did it.
I will know the joke
Yeah,
one day.
you still don't know the joke. That's kind of why I didn't do it. I was waiting for you to get the joke, but Neb was like, "No, you have to do it. It's fine."
I know the enunciation, but I'm like any other connection or like even what it entails in general. I'm like I'll know when I watch Community one day.
Just, this is gonna be a reminder weekly at the start that haven't seen Community yet.
Exactly.
It's just an
It's like
update.
the
Have
name
you
of the
seen it yet?
podcast is to shame me. uh,
uh, but yeah, today, as we mentioned at the end of the last episode, we're going to be talking about Godzilla Minus One, the Japanese
ooh.
movie that came out last year, right?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure when exactly it was released. It was either like October or November. It was late, and then it was released just in Japan, and then after a while, it came around to more international. And the thing is, like the home media didn't take off until really recently. Like it didn't get a streaming release, and there was a time where it was questionable if it would, and everyone was pirating it. So it's like it's recently come over here, so it's more available now.
Yeah, there's always that risk when it comes to foreign movies and them getting wide distribution. But just how long it takes, it's a nightmare. But thankfully, it did come recently to Netflix, even here in Brazil. So I did watch it on Netflix. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah,
What did you think? This was my recommendation of, and I mentioned how much I love this movie, and it just seriously, this is going to be a gush fest because this was definitely my favorite movie of last year. The more I've rewatched it, but
mhm.
what about
um,
you?
I, I don't know if it's just because I've only seen it one time, but I thought it was fine. Uh, I didn't think it
Interesting.
was like fantastic. I enjoyed it, and I think the third act in general is just phenomenal. But I did have a few
Yeah.
criticisms of the movie, and I
Oh.
didn't think it was anything too special for most of it. I did enjoy like some glimpses of really good stuff, but nothing that felt like too out of the ordinary for like a Godzilla movie. So yeah.
Interesting. I definitely would be interested in your criticisms. The third act is definitely like where the rubber meets the road and why like this movie ends on a good note. I honestly find it hilarious like just how much the second half of the movie contrasts like the first half cuz the first half is like super bleak and
Yeah, it's
like
the most depressing
full
thing
out
I've
like
ever seen.
yeah, it's like everyone like because the whole thing is the movie's about a kamikaze pilot and everyone's like shaming him. Like there's so many people that are dead. There's all this trauma that the characters are trying to get through, and then the second half goes full blockbuster. So it almost feels like two different movies, but I love how they handled the tone.
hmm Yeah. In terms of my criticisms, I generally only had like two. Um, that really annoyed me, and the rest is just like I just didn't think the movie was like whoa. But firstly, it was having
Hmm.
I forgot her name. The love interest.
Norco.
Yeah, having her survive. I was not a big fan of that. I think it kind of
Oh man,
cheapens the entire
oh
thing of like him wanting to
you think
avenge her and everything. I
you think it
wasn't a big fan.
cheapens it?
Well, yeah.
Well,
Well, I'm
well,
never a
we
huge fan of bringing characters back to life, like,
yeah.
and
I
especially from the way she died. I was like, there's no way she survived that. But
Yeah, my thing with that probably comes down to just I think Shikishima like deserves a
a
happy
happy
ending
ending.
in this movie, and it's like
Yeah, it's kind of what I was
I don't
thinking.
have
Like,
too many
oh, they're
complaints.
going for
There's
a happy ending, and but I didn't
yeah,
think like I didn't think it needed to be super happy. Like they beat Godzilla and they got like his revenge basically for him killing her. So that felt like a good end
yeah.
point. And he survived, which is the
Well,
most important part. And then her turning out to be alive, I was like, that's a little bit too happy, like too much for me.
yeah, and he has Akiko as well. He promised that he wasn't going to leave her, and it could
Yeah,
you could have ended on a note with just them, where it's like he's going to be her father proper now, and like I
yeah, that's
you
what I
could
was
have done
thinking.
that.
Yeah.
There is like I'll admit it's very questionable. Like she, especially with how good she looks. Like if she was like burnt pretty bad,
I
but she was still
genuinely thought she
alive,
would
like
have been
I
like fucking Two-Face type, like absolutely
yeah,
destroyed, but she was pretty good with a few bandages around her face and
it's
everything. Like,
it's definitely questionable.
yeah,
They do have there's that like it's definitely on purpose. They've got like what looks like a shard of Godzilla. They mention after the Ginza attack that there's shards of Godzilla that they're finding around that have like questionable like nature. But like there's the implication, and I think the director confirmed it, is that that is a piece of Godzilla. So I think the idea is that maybe gave her a little bit more like endurance to be able to survive. And then of course from there you can be like, well, that's a little cheap, isn't it? And
yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's it's questionable. Maybe the next movie will kind of explore more into why into how she survived, but based on what they show, I definitely agree it's kind of weird.
yeah,
There's a couple of things like that are like, hey, I don't know.
yeah. And the other thing for me was just that the film in general teased a sequel. I was not a huge fan because I
I
I think like for a Godzilla movie, especially the way this is, you don't need to have a sequel set in the same universe. You can just have the same people make another Godzilla movie set in a different universe, and you leave these characters be like it
well,
feels like these characters their journey has already ended, so it kind of cheapens it to just be like, oh, actually, what they did didn't actually solve everything, which we thought it did.
well, honestly, I don't know what they'll do. They said at first that they didn't actually plan for a sequel to this movie,
Right.
so they're gonna now. Apparently, I think they said that they want to, but they I feel like that setup is more so kind of like a just homage to like 50s movies that like would usually tease something else or would like lead into another movie. It's kind of meant to be the monster, like, oh no, the monster's gonna come back. It's
Well,
like,
yeah, I just didn't think it was really all that necessary. It's the kind of thing where like,
uh,
like you already had them beat the thing, and it was like this huge effort. Like, it's like, oh, actually, it didn't solve it of the issue.
yeah.
I'm not a huge fan, but like, it's the kind of thing. It's like how I say Daredevil season 3 is like the perfect ending for the show, except that it has that final tease at the end for Bullseye, and you're like, ah, shit, we now need
Yeah.
another season. It's kind of how I feel. It's just like it
It like
is a,
wraps conclusively and you think you've seen the last scene and it's
and
like
then
tune in
oh
next time. It's
yeah,
like,
exactly. It's the exact same vibe I
yeah.
get from that. Um,
Yeah, not
yeah,
100% necessary. There is also like you never know. Like Godzilla's like gone at the end of this movie, and that's just like a piece of it. Like maybe Godzilla will come back and like be a good guy, kind of like what they're doing in the legendary movies. Like they
and
could do anything
fighting a
they
new
wanted, but
monster, right? So that could happen.
well, legendary keeps doing. So,
Hey, look, comparing these
yeah.
is like comparing like a gourmet food to like McDonald's. It's
Well, yeah, seriously, and I'm sure you can agree with that, even criticisms notwithstanding. And I got a few myself, but like this movie is like in another league compared to what Legendary is
oh
doing,
yeah,
and
no, I
pretty much,
really I really hate the legendary movies. I think they're so boring. So boring. All of them
well,
except for Skull Island. I genuinely love that movie. It's so
yeah,
much fun.
Skull Island at least like understands what movie it is.
Yeah,
The
it
other
knows it's
movies have like,
stupid as hell, and the other movies is just like
yeah.
they're
Well,
trying
in
to take
Godzilla,
themselves so seriously.
I found Godzilla v Kong kind of entertaining too. The fights themselves,
The
like
fights were
they're
fun, but
there's.
the everything that wasn't the fights were extremely boring. Like
Well, I
going
swear to God,
inside the earth and everything. It was just like, oh, why are we doing
well,
this?
that's why I love this movie so much because the focus is on the characters. That's
Yeah.
what this movie excels at, and
Yeah, and I
legendary
mean,
movies, they're infamous for that.
yeah, and I mean the Christ, I'm awful with names that aren't English or Portuguese. The main character, she's something.
Uh oh,
The,
from the legendary
no,
movies?
from this movie, it's she something.
Oh, Noriko or who
The
are you
main
referring to?
character,
Oh, Shikishima.
Shikishima. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
He,
struggled. I am 90% sure that's how you say his name. It's yeah,
yeah, no,
Shikishima.
I'm pretty
So
sure it is. I'm just bad at remembering names, especially when they're not in the language that I speak. Um,
I'm with you.
He genuinely was a really great character. I mean, like
Yeah.
the focus on him, I really enjoyed it, and the it explored an idea surrounding Japan's role in World War II that I don't think is usually explored, because we usually see stories about
No.
World War II from the American perspective, but seeing a Japanese perspective was so interesting. I genuinely really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's really interesting to just let's get into it because I don't want to go like full line by line. I want to keep this relatively streamlined, but I do kind of want to go um piece by piece or at least in order. But I the praises start before the credits are finished, but I love that they call attention to the fact that it's the 70th anniversary of Godzilla before the movie begins. It's a bold move to like acknowledge that. They could have just made that a part of the marketing, but they're like, this isn't just any other Godzilla movie. This is the 70th anniversary of Godzilla. It's like, oh, so this is something else we're in for. I I love that's like immediately. So like Shikishima lands on Odo Island. I love the direct post World War II setting, and those were honestly those were the only things I'd heard about this movie. I'd seen like trailers that showed a little bit of Godzilla, but I didn't know what the movie was about. But those were the two things I'd heard. Fresh off of World War II, like right after. So it's like earlier than any other Godzilla movies done, at least from what I'm aware of. They're usually in the wake of like, kind of more Cold War rather than World War II. And then Kamikaze Pilot. And I remember hearing those. I'm like, that sounds like an interesting premise. My my worry was the family. I'd heard that like it was kind of like a family. Like, oh my god, please tell me it's not just them running away and always being in the wrong place at the wrong time, like other disaster movies. But it's nothing like that.
No, no, yeah, that it's much more interesting than that.
Yeah. So Odo Island. That's it's a reference to the original movie. That's where Godzilla comes from in the first place, or at least where they first discovered him. And in this, they make it a kamikaze repair base.
Right.
So
Well, that's nice.
the yeah. So you have Shikishima meeting a mechanic, and they mention that they can't find anything wrong with his plane. So
Yeah.
what's going on there? And you were mentioning the like this movie being from the Japanese perspective. I love how everyone also like isn't really proud of like the war itself. Like everyone just like looks at it just like it was just a tragedy and that just people died. Like that's they said the mechanic. I'm forgetting his name. Um, but they say it in the movie like that everyone's dead. Like two people say that. It's like you get this such an oppressive feeling in the earlier part of this movie where like there's just such emptiness. Like Shikshima's like hometown is like just leveled and like rubble, and
I mean, when he
it
gets
doesn't like
there, it's
start.
just like, holy shit, this place has been decimated. And that's even before Godzilla had anything to do with anything. That was genuinely just the
Yeah.
war. It's they paint a
Well, and it's
picture of
important to
how much Japan has been destroyed. That's very much I haven't seen before, other than like stuff that talks about the two American bombs, obviously. But like that was like
yeah.
even more so than that, just talking about airstrikes and everything, like very
Well,
specific.
exactly. Like there, yeah, that wasn't Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Like
Yeah.
the other cities in Japan were leveled just as much as they were. So like, it was just because
Well,
of air
probably not
raids.
as much, but yeah.
Well, God forbid. But yeah. So the night comes. There's fish that are dead. They do a lot of stuff like that where they have like clues that kind of set up Godzilla before he arrives, but they use that as kind of a warning sign, which is kind of interesting. And then yeah, like right away they throw you into it. Godzilla just shows up here.
It
Like it's
kills
night and all of a
everyone.
sudden Godzilla.
Yeah.
And good good idea to do that too, to open with that, because like Godzilla, there is a surprising like lack of him in this movie. There's not much of Godzilla in it, similar to a lot of them, like the legendary movies, because they want to save him the CGI, but they have him here. And I like also that he's different. Like it's smaller. Like it's this one's only like about like 150 feet or something like that, and it's kind of in line with what Godzilla was like in the original 1954 movie, and then after he gets nuked, then he changes, of course. So
Hmm.
So you have this setup for like guilt with Shikishima where he's asked by the mechanics to shoot his the gun from his plane to kill Godzilla, and
And he just
obviously he
freezes.
doesn't do it because he's freaking out and he
Yeah.
doesn't think it's gonna work. And
I
I
do find
I
it
love that
fascinating
they
how like the mechanic blames him when it's like it wouldn't work, it wouldn't
well
have done anything, but like he blames him so hard for everyone dying. I thought that was a
well
nice
that's what
touch. It's just like, yeah, he may have frozen, like he like didn't want to fly his plane, be a kamikaze, but at the same time, he wouldn't have changed anything regardless. I think in both scenarios, and I think it's kind of trying to draw a little parallel there of being like these efforts and more, you gotta know when to strike and what to do. You can't just like, give up your life, like be so I forgot the word, but uh is it Nora, the older guy? That's his name.
Nora sorry
Is
Noda,
Nora?
yeah, Noda.
Noda. Noda.
Noda.
Yeah.
Kenshi
He
Noda.
yeah, that he says like that Japan has been very blasé about the importance of people's lives and that you shouldn't be that way. And I kind of like that of like having Shikishima kind of learning to value his life because he's been taught for years that his life doesn't have any value beyond just giving it for your country, but like in
Well,
a very meaningless way.
well, that's exactly what this is that the mechanics are like treating him like his life is forfeit, and they just are like, well, if he dies, then whatever, he's basically a dead man walking, right? And that's where the blame also comes from, is it's like it's easy to blame Shikishima in this movie because like he was supposed to be a kamikaze pilot, so it's like there's a sense of like cowardice that's built into his like existence and him just being alive, that they're like, well, you didn't do your job. And Godzilla being used as a metaphor for that, like that he doesn't shoot, but it's just like, what is it going to do anyway? And it's similar to the kamikazes. It's like it doesn't.
It won't
You
actually
don't
affect anything. It's just
know.
because that's kind of
It's
what
just
war is. It's just people killing each other until people in suits decide that it's like that they should end it. It's not really anything to do with the
yeah,
actual war, the actual soldiers and their efforts. It's like that's really meaningless as a whole.
yeah. So Godzilla, Shikishima can't shoot, and the mechanics have bad trigger disciplines. So Godzilla just fucking kills everybody, and
Yeah.
it's 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 crazy. And yeah, Shikishima and Mr. Tagi, I don't want to screw up saying his name. I can't. It's so hard to pronounce. But the mechanic and him are alive. Everyone else is dead. So Shikishima gets back on a ship, and he's given the pictures by him. It's such a cold move. It really is, that he like collected those, and he it's like he passes those memories from the dead man onto him just to like have it weigh on his conscience. And like I said, it's just because it's easy to blame him, and he sees Godzilla as just like a force of nature, and he would prefer to blame Shikishima than blame Godzilla.
Yeah.
So yeah, Shikishima's town is gone, and his parents are dead, and his neighbor doesn't like him either. So
She's
yeah,
great because the first thing she said,
she
like, one of the first things she says is like, "I'm done carrying," and then she spends the rest of the movie carrying and helping him and his daughter. It's
it,
great.
it is funny because when you start off, you're like, God damn, man, is this just going to be the entire movie? But they generate a lot of comedy with her, like because of exactly what you said. She's like, I don't care, but she's a mom who's lost all her kids, and it's like she can't help but be a mother to like
Yeah,
a child, and like to kind of help them out with being parents, even though they're not really parents. So it's like, and seriously, like as bleak as this movie can be, they do have a lot of like good humor and like optimism, and the characters just fun to be around. They seem they get along, and they feel like they're actually friends and
that's
close,
usually the
and
mark of a good war movie is when you have these characters that really bounce well off each other.
yeah,
Like I think even Saving Private Ryan, like the characters, they just have fun dialogue
yeah,
to listen to.
that just immediately jumped to my mind when you mentioned war. I'm like,
Yeah,
exactly, Saving Private Ryan, tons of good humor inside of that movie. Usually it's the soldiers or the characters like themselves that kind of help out with the tone.
yeah.
So Shikishima is minding his business in the marketplace when someone puts a thief is running away and throws something in his hands, which he probably assumes is stolen goods, to realize that it's a baby. So I love this cut when he's he's handed it, and then you just show him in a wide in the market, kind of like rocking it. Like the implication is that he's been here for like a half hour to an hour, and he doesn't know what to do,
She's just been
and he
there
puts her
waiting.
down and walks away, and he's like, I can't do
I
her like
can't, yeah.
that. It's like,
And then like he walks
yeah,
for like a minute and then she finds her again. It's like, oh, I've been waiting for like an hour, but she was right next to him. That was kind of funny.
yeah. Funny little thing showing how street smart she is. Like she doesn't want to go back to the same place where she almost got caught the first
Yeah.
time, so she was watching him from a distance. And yeah, so Shikishima is kind of thrust upon by this girl who like he doesn't want anything to do with her, but she's tagging along, and she reveals that this is not her daughter. She is a girl that was entrusted to her by her parents who were dying. So all of them basically are kind of orphans of the war. They don't really have anyone else that's there for them to take care of them, and they've just all kind of been thrown into one by accident. Shikishima even talks about that it just kind of happened, and it is funny that they like form this family dynamic. Like it'd be easy for this to come across as like forced, like there's just like, oh, it's like, the family that your real family is the family that type of a thing, but it's just it feels more authentic. It feels like, something that could actually happen in a situation like this.
I mean, yeah, that kind of felt like a classic like remnants of war type of thing. It's very much just like, yeah, this is the outcome of war. You have a kid whose parents died, so she has to live with this woman who has nothing to do with this family at all. They just met and ended up entrusting her to her. And this guy who managed to find her and give her a place to stay while she gets her bearings, and she ends up just living there and becoming a family. Like it happens naturally. It's the kind of progression you think, yeah. In a country that's been devastated by war, that's the kind of thing you'd expect.
Yeah, you just gotta stick together. So we're cutting ahead in time a little bit. This is March. I think this takes place like from 45 to 47. Like it
Yeah, I
doesn't
think
cover
so.
too much time. It really is like right after. But Shikishima finds work as a minesweeper, and he's the job is risky, so it pays better than some of the other jobs he's found, and obviously like work isn't good because war torn Japan. So but he ensures Noriko that they're on a boat that's meant to evade mines, and you see it's this dingy little piece of shit, and he's like,
Yeah.
it's that classic kind of like, what? Like, where character's confident, then all of a sudden all that confidence is gone. So, and you meet the crew. I love all of these characters. They're this movie takes a lot after Jaws, and it's that classic like setup of like a ragtag team with like someone that's young. I mean, they even call themselves that, like Captain. It's like Doc and Kid. It's like it.
Yeah.
They're the classical archetypes of a story like this, but they work so well off each other. And again, it just feels authentic how they play it.
Yeah, it did feel very Jaws the way the characters are set up for say you have this kid who has no experience, you have uh the older guy who's been through a lot, and you have like the doc, which is the guy who knows a lot.
Scientist, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it works though. So they have a method to get rid of mines. So the wooden boats are to avoid magnetic mines, and they use a chain between the boats to cut the chain that stores the mine, and they shoot it with a gun. So Shikishima shows off there and has a nightmare that he talks to Noriko about, touching on what happened during the war. And those scenes, by the way, the acting in this movie is really good. The actor who plays Shikishima, he's in did you ever see Call Me by Your Name?
No, I haven't.
He was one of the actors in that, and really good stuff. He's been in a decent bit. I'm not sure about live action roles, but this is like one of the more prominent. But guy lowers himself. Like this is a very demanding performance, and he does really
Oh
good in the
yeah.
scenes of Noriko. So they show Godzilla being nuclear bombed, and which mutates him as it usually does. I love this like montage with just the happy music where they're like happily like destroying bombs and like life is flourishing. It's just kind of a funny thing to get
Yeah.
in the Godzilla movie, but yeah, just neat little montage to cut ahead. But basically, Chikshima's job's going well, and they've built a new house. So team comes on over to and he mentions to the guys that they're not a family, and he says that to Akiko that I we've talked and I'm not your father, and it's pretty sad to see that. It's
It's kind
and
of heartbreaking, yeah. Just say I'm not.
yeah,
I told you this. I'm not your father. It's like poor kid. He just wants a parent.
yeah. And it's one of those things too where like the other guys are so on board with this, and so is he, but this is like his arc in the movie is that he's like pushing himself
Pushing
away from
everyone
that
away. Yeah, he pushes everyone away
yeah,
because his war isn't over, as they say many times in the movie. His
yeah,
personal inner war isn't over,
he
which
has all this
is
guilt and
expected to think that of someone who fought in a war. That there's always like remnants of that entire like psychology of it, how it affects you. Obviously PTSD from people who have fought in wars, but he has the personal thing of like thinking he failed his country because he he didn't want to be a kamikaze pilot, so he pretended like his plane wasn't working. So it's just like a thing of like thinking he's a coward, so he failed his country. He has that very personal thing about that, uh that he keeps like trying to move away from, but he can never do that until the end when he finally like learns to accept that his life is worth more than just giving it away like his country wanted him to, which I think is a very nice arc to have
yeah.
someone like that on, which is again part of what I really loved about this movie was how unique that is, because I've never seen like a kamikaze pilot be having an arc about learning to value his own life. I think that's extremely
Well,
unique.
and it's a really good theme in general. Tons of stories have done this kind of a thing. Just the idea of like, living is worth more than like dying for a good cause, quote unquote. Like it's more worth it to live rather than to die for something. And it's a good theme for this movie, and it's kind of what defines Shikshima's whole arc.
Yeah.
So yeah, and as well as that, there's also the pictures. I feel like that's maybe a specific reason is those pictures like have the families of the people that died on Odo Island, and it's like it's almost like he doesn't want to like have a family because he doesn't want to like accept what he feels he took away from those guys. But lots of stuff going on there. So we have a montage establishing that Godzilla is active and moving around, and governments of the world are aware of him, but US Soviet tensions are making it impossible for America to step in. Um, and the minesweepers are thrown to respond to a battleship that was destroyed. And Shikishima recognizes because of the fish that are dead nearby that it is probably Godzilla, and that Godzilla has been mutated. And so this is an interesting scene. I remember when this clip of Godzilla, because this scene's insane, and movies do this a lot, where like a big movie comes out and they'll release like 1 minute or like 90 seconds of just unedited footage of the movie online as like kind of the clip to share around. And when this clip was out, like there were so many people that were working in reverse with practical effects for CGI. Like sometimes something is practical and you're like, wait, that wasn't CGI. Or like, oh, people were like saying there was no way this could have been CGI and that it had to be a practical effect because like Godzilla looked too photorealistic. And it the CGI breakdown is insane for this because the boat itself is actually practical. Like they actually did film on a boat, and they filmed um on the ocean to meld it in with the Godzilla CGI. They had to make the wake of the boat that was real matched the model of Godzilla moving through the water. And the breakdown for how they made this scene work is pretty insane, and it's an amazing like combination of practical effects and CGI because the boat was real, Godzilla was CGI, the entire scene looks amazing.
Yeah, I was people were saying like this the CGI in this movie was fantastic. So I was kind of expecting like it to blow me away. There's some moments where like, wow, that clearly looks CGI. But that scene specifically, I was like, holy shit, this looks great. There's some shots specifically like, or just the detailing on Godzilla himself, like they're so insane. I'm like, Jesus, can't believe this is CGI. It's just usually when they're blending in like when he's stepping on buildings and everything, like, okay, that looks kind of rubbery, kind of CGI. But especially in the
Yeah,
water, it
there's
looks so good every time he's in the water.
yeah, it's pretty insane. I think the one thing, like the if you look at it, like specifically like the water like animation and like how it like splashes off of things, you can sometimes tell like that it's CGI, especially in the third act, actually, because most of the third act is CGI. Like in this scene, they actually filmed on a boat, but not in the third act. They couldn't afford battleships for this movie, so that was all done in post. So yeah, they chase away from Godzilla, and this scene is super on rails and tense. And they use two mines that they tried, and one of them they blow up instead of its mouth, only to discover that this Godzilla has the power of the Wolverine and just can heal back right away. So troublesome for ways to defeat it. And they set up that Takeo, the a battleship from Singapore, was nearby, and it ends up shooting Godzilla. I love that it's just a classic movie setup where like they established that in dialogue, but by this point you've probably forgotten that that was a thing, and it's like, oh my god, mine just blew up the ship. What are they gonna do? And then it just shows up and shoots Godzilla down,
I mean, I
and
hadn't
then
forgotten. I thought it was like, okay, because it was kind of the establishing dialogue. Like we have to wait until they get here, so we kind of have to stall. And so it's just like, Jesus, when did they
yeah.
get in there? When did they get in there? Like, there's always
I
that
do
tension.
love that moment. He's like, stall. It's like
Yeah.
they're like, what the hell? But yeah. And Godzilla just levels this ship like it's nothing and then goes underwater. So the atomic breath variation in this movie is insane, but I love that they hide it at first. Like they had the process because Godzilla just goes underwater and you just see a beam and then the ship's just gone. So Godzilla emerges and takes off and leaves them on a note of what the hell are they going to do against this thing. So we have another scene with Noriko and Shikishima where he finally tells exactly what happens and talks about Godzilla. And you kind of get him that last little bit where he's still talking about he seriously like his performance when he's like saying like what if I died there, like he
Yeah, that was
the,
really good. I was I
there's all
was
the
really shocked. Like he was insane in that moment. Like just the amount, because he's kind of losing his mind in so many different ways, and you can kind of like the actor just he's portraying it perfectly because he's like, oh, he's extremely sad and extremely distraught, but then he's like, no, it's a better option to for me to have died there. This is all just a dream than actually this be my reality, that my life was for nothing. Like there's so much going through his mind that he's losing his mind at that moment, and it's how it's heartbreaking, his performance, honestly.
yeah, amazing stuff through and through in the performances, but his specifically is great. So Ginza, this scene is insane. I want to say I love that Godzilla is just straight up a bad guy in this movie because I don't know if you remember when the 2014 Godzilla was coming out, but like the marketing lied. the trailers like full out were like selling it as a Godzilla is the villain and like what are we gonna do against Godzilla? And they completely hid the Mutos. I remember watching the movie. I'm like, what? Where's the movie you sold me?
Yeah.
I was expecting Godzilla, but they've just and I kind of like the whole, anti-hero Godzilla where like Godzilla is just kind of like an apex predator and wants to be top of the ladder, but the it gets boring after a while, or at least I find it boring that in just all of the legendary movies, he's just like, hey, he's the king of the monsters, and anytime there's a new monster, like we'll defeat it with Godzilla and Kong's fist, and it's like not in this movie. This movie's full force of nature Godzilla.
Yeah.
So classic city leveling by a monster in a monster movie. You get the train, by the way, is definitely a reference to the original Godzilla. There's a scene in that movie where Godzilla has a train in its mouth, and like there's a couple of clever references, some more subtle than others in this movie. But yeah, you get some pretty insane destruction. And the CGI, by the way, in this, like you got to appreciate, like most of this scene, just like the third act, is not real. This was all CGI models, and there's a breakdown where they talk about how like they didn't have a lot of like reference photos to make this stuff. They had to like look back on like what things looked like in general. Like they didn't have like a Google Maps of like what Ginza would have looked like in the 40s. So a lot of this stuff was just their own models to make it look like Ginza. And it you were mentioning that you can tell some things are CGI in this movie. You definitely can. It's not like the CGI is like the most realistic. Like there's no way you could possibly tell. But considering that a good chunk of this movie is CGI, it's insane comparing it to other movies like that we usually get as modern blockbusters because the CGI looks way better than most movies. Like so and this is one of the reasons that the director of this film is like an animator. He's a CGI artist himself, so he worked a lot closer with like the team of CGI artists than a lot of like Hollywood blockbusters where like no one knows anything about CGI and just passes it on to the post production team and just gives them unreasonable demands.
Yeah, that definitely helps because the way CGI artists are exploited by the industry is depressing to say the least. So it's nice to have someone that actually works on that being like the head of the movie. It's kind of the same way I feel about the Fall Guy being made by stunt people. It's like, yeah, you have a movie folk that, the people working on it know what it's like. So to, do the grunt work. So it kind of helps that it doesn't, they don't want to make those people have to bear the load on their own, and you kind of treat them better because of that.
Yeah. I am guessing David Leitch had a pretty like heavy involvement with the stunt work on his films. Like, I mean, he was one of the directors of John Wick, so surely. But it is kind of funny that he's a new breed of like different kinds of filmmakers, like making films. And serious, David Leitch is really good. He's an underrated filmmaker nowadays.
I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed Bullet Train and The Fall Guy, so
Ooh, have you seen Atomic Blonde?
I haven't yet.
Ooh, that's a pretty good one. I I'd have to rewatch him to say if Bullet Train is better. I really like Bullet Train though.
Yeah, I really like Bullet
So
Train too.
so we arrive at the atomic breath, which they refer to as the heat ray. And dude, the the spine like physically lifting up, like it like popping the spine like up is insane. They keep trying to one up Godzilla's atomic breath in these movies. It really is funny, like just how much it's evolved. Because in the original movie, it basically is just fire. It's like a flamethrower, but they go different routes, and in this it's almost like a cough of energy that just results in a nuclear explosion. Because like I was mentioning that like when you see it underwater you don't really get a full sense of what this thing is like, but seeing it here, just this beam just melts the buildings like butter, and then where it lands just pow
Yeah, I
it.
mean, that was my favorite visual from the movie was that just like it building up and you have Shikishima saying, "Oh, it's the same. Go shit's about to go down," and you just and I love how they have the well, for one, just the sound in general in that scene is really really good.
It's like
But you
I
just
don't
have the
know.
like you just wait a second after it explodes. You know, like you see the explosion, like holy shit, and you hear the boom because obviously sound would take a little while to travel, and they did that in editing, and I think it adds so much to the atmosphere of you just like bracing. You're like, wait. Did it go down? Like, has it destroyed everything? And then you see the wave of destruction from the sound waves. It's amazing. That was really really good.
Yeah, and the shockwave just cracking apart the buildings. You just see them one by one, just plow,
Yeah.
and like, and then it hits them right directly. And the we mentioned Noriko surviving being questionable,
Yeah,
but it's
I was like, how
the
did she
slow
survive
mo.
that?
But the slow mo in that shot that this scene is, that's like, it's just 5 seconds of slow motion for that one push. You're just like, God damn it! And when you see that, you're like, oh, it's that's it. But we could talk about this in the third act, but I think it's questionable if like the movie would be better if she died. I honestly do like that she's still alive at the end, even though like the survivability is questionable. It's one of those like, I almost feel it's better for the story, even if it's like is a little bit on the implausible end of the spectrum.
I don't know if it's like
But
I don't know if it works really well for the story because like let's say he had saved her and they both survived and then you don't have like his anger and him wanting to avenge her, so you know she kind of has to die at that moment. But like her staying dead
yeah,
for me at
but
least like it doesn't undermine that he wanted to get revenge and all the just the general idea of her having died to save him. Like I really like that, but then it's just like she survived. Like I don't know if it would have been like if it is worse off
the
for it, but
fa-
it feels cheaper for me.
the fake out part of it probably is what, because they definitely like get, there's there's no bodies on the ground after that. You just assume that like everything that was like human like ceased to exist unless it would like happen to be lucky like Shikishima. My thing is that like an important part of like the stakes of the third act is that they don't want anyone to die. Like their whole plan is supposed to be built around like sacrificing no lives. It I feel similarly about this movie that I do to Top Gun Maverick, where it's kind of like, I mean, people have said that about Top Gun Maverick, like no one died. I couldn't feel any stakes. It's like what? It's like I I like that this movie doesn't have the main characters die because it's like that's kind of the point of the movie. I feel like that might be a little more important than like the revenge aspect of it, even though it is obviously important.
Well, I think like just the
But
revenge aspect is important because he learns to move past it instead of looking for revenge. He's looking to save people. You know, like shit that
yeah,
shifting
not to
perspective.
well, not to mention he doesn't die for his revenge, which obviously was his original plan before anything else.
Yeah.
Because he mentions that to the mechanic that he was he had the plan to use explosives in his mouth. So
Well, that is
and
also actually something that I just remembered I had a criticism for. Was just them
oh
showing the flashback to him showing the ejection button. I was like, that was obviously what he said. Like, oh, there's something else I'm
well.
gonna tell you, and then it cut away. I was like, yeah, it's the ejection button. It's obvious. Like, you don't need to cut back to show.
Well,
I'm not a huge fan of flashbacks in general like that. They kind of annoy me.
I I definitely anticipated that. We could talk about that flashback, but I definitely was expecting an ejector seat at the end, and
Yeah, I
it's
thought it was obvious, and then you
yeah,
can actually see him ejecting when he flies into its mouth. It's very fast. It's kind of meant to be like, oh,
yeah.
I noticed it, but yeah,
It is a really good blink and you miss a detail. You can see
yeah,
it like just before.
yeah.
So yeah, and you get this shot of Godzilla just walking away and just indifferent, and then the shot of Shikishima is like the fucking nuclear rain just falls on him. It's like, God, that scream is so primal and so real. And like this is what I was mentioning with that actor like lowering himself. Like there's a lot of ego when it comes to acting, especially in Hollywood, and it's like it takes a committed actor to like lower yourself to like this level with like a scream like this, and it's really good. This is This is what you get when you're going for the Oscar when you're not going for the Oscar. It's like it's not it doesn't feel manufactured. It feels like completely authentic, and that guy did a really good job.
Yeah, it was like a primal
And
scream. It was, yeah.
goddamn the destruction here. Like there are so many movies where like a city gets destroyed and just like but in this movie like they show it and it feels very real because they show people dying. They show people full out getting like just stepped on by Godzilla. They were just running away, and they are not afraid to be like, yeah, Godzilla leveled Ginza. It's gone. 30,000 plus people dead, and it's like that is a that is meant to be the stake setter of this movie, where it's like this is all for that. So we now arrive at the breakdown for Operation Watasume. I love this scene. There's so much to talk about. um, I love the use of the crowd in this scene. It's pretty ingenious. Have you seen Every Frame of Painting's video on Akira Kurosawa?
I think so. Yeah.
It's good. It's pretty good stuff. But he talks about like how Akira Kurosawa uses like the camera actors or like stuff like fire in a frame to like create movement and create interesting shots. And something that he talks about is using groups of people to react to like the same information. And like there's something to be said for everyone like gasping or everyone like, wincing their eyes like when like they all hear the same thing. It's like what? And that like 10 people reacting in the same way is like more interesting than one person reacting. And in this scene you've got like a bunch of NPCs that are all trying to be like they're basically trying to pitch them on this plan. And it's really cool how they use the groups to do that, and how you get like a sense of like how on board everyone is based on their reactions. And the plan itself, of course, is amazing. So
The plan is really interesting. I kind of was hoping that it would work because I think the idea of sinking it down to kill it with the pressure in the water, I thought, man, that's such a cool idea. I would have loved to see that actually working.
I mean, honestly, like you can kind of like imagine the third act is going to go the way that it is, but there was a moment there after that initial plunge where it was like, did that
Oh
just
shit.
work?
Yeah, did
They
that
don't
just
need
work?
the backup plan. It's like because it's a good plan. So yeah, one of the commanders of a now disarmed battleship is kind of calling it out, and he's going to be the leader of this. And they've all gathered ex-Navy officers, and Kenji Noda, of all people, steps up to the plate to explain the plan. So he mentions the healing factor, and his idea is to use Freon gas canisters to create a bubble membrane to lower the density of the salt water so that it'll sink to the bottom. And the second part of it is using the Sagami Trench. This guy's line read here, like it's in Japanese, and like you I checked out some of the English dub. It's pretty awful. Like there's some lines that just can't be translated to work, but I love how that guy reads the line. It'll sink so rapidly that the pressure will crush it. Like he like sells that last part of like we're gonna sink this thing, we're gonna fucking crush it and kill it. And like and then like the movie turn around, like we kill it with the power of the sea. It's like it's so awesome. Love as well, by the way, the name Operation Watasume, that's a reference to the sea god of Japanese mythology.
Ooh,
That's its name, Watasume. So that their plan is to like weaponize the sea. So it's like there you go.
that's cool.
So, oh yeah, another thing with the crowd and all that is Shikishima contrasts that because the for one, like he steps up right away when the battle commander like enters the room because he's used to that because he's a soldier, and I mean everyone here is, but as well as that, he's a lot more stoic than everyone else. Like
I mean, yeah, people are
everyone else will be
reacting and he's just like not saying anything with that like cynical dead look on his eyes like this isn't gonna fucking work.
yeah. Yeah, because he doesn't have confidence in the plan. At any rate, he's got his own plan, and he's just bent on revenge, like by
Yeah.
any means necessary. So they managed to keep him on board. I love as well that this the method of corralling it with cable, it's clearly based on the minesweeping thing where they use a rope with a cutter in the middle of it between two ships. So
Uh-huh.
it's kind of clever that they connect that to like what Kenji was doing anyway. So, and then the second part is using Navy buoyancy balloons to lift Godzilla up and use decompression to kill it. So, and it's the craziest thing because like when you really think about this, like the most like trauma, the most damage that we can do to anything, like you're like vacuum of space, falls, missiles, but you're like there's not much else we can do that's like more devastating than water pressure and barotrauma, and there's nothing in this world that's immune to either. So when you really think about it, it's like it's pretty much the best you can figure
Yeah,
given the
it's a really good
circumstances.
plan,
And
honestly.
yeah, love all of it. And it gets, and you buy, I love this as well, that like you have the dismissal where people are like saying they have families and that they can't do it, and they just tell people this has to be voluntary, and they let the people who want to go home go, and they don't shame them, and everyone else is on board. And I it's like a realistic amount of people that leave too. It's like 15-20%. It's like it the amount you'd figure would like not be willing to take the risk, take off, and they're fine with that. The rest of them, they're like, yeah, let's do this. It's different kind of tone from this point on. It kind of it feels like a different movie because the humans feel like they have it together at this point.
Yeah.
So, a little bit more setting this up, but Shikishima decides to get he wants to get a pilot ship or a plane. And they and they have one that was they have a couple, it looks like, that were meant to for a land invasion, and one of them is decommissioned and needs to be repaired, and Shikishima decides to try to reach out for the mechanic that was on Odo Island. And I do love this scene with the guy, like when he's at like what is probably like the Japanese DMV or something like that. Like he's just trying to find the guy's address, and he's like begging him. He's like, "The fate of the world depends on this." And
Yeah,
he's
just
like,
like, I know, but I can't do anything.
it's- it is a very funny scene
Yeah,
for him to be like as dramatic, and for this guy to just be like, "Sorry, dude, I can't help you out."
yeah.
But
I did
he
find it,
decides,
I did think it was great that he was looking for that mechanic in particular. Like, Noda asks why him in particular it has to be him. It's because he plans to
yeah,
commit suicide to do a kamikaze run. Um, and the only mechanic who would actually help him do that is the one who hates him, who blames him for not being, for being a coward and not helping them at Odo Island. So I think it's very smart of him as a character to just like, yeah, he's the only one who would actually help me kill myself. And I think it's phenomenal that at the end he actually does it. He gives him an escape plan, and
yeah,
it shows like, survive. That matters more than you sacrificing yourself for this cause. That was really
yeah.
really good.
I love that like line read as well. Like you were mentioning the flashback itself, but I love that he just like tells him like live as a sentence. It's like
Yeah.
he insists. He's just like, dude, live. It's worth it. And exactly what you said, like he has an escape route. So he sends condemning letters to get him mad, to like kind of force his hand and
Oh
trick him
yeah,
into
that was
helping him
hilarious.
out.
I was like, I knew that if I angered you, you would show up. Uh,
It's like
and then he just gets
it's
beat
exact
up, and his eye it just looks so fucked up. Like, I for something that was like such, just in passing, I didn't think they would actually go that hard in the makeup of how bad he looked after being beat up by him. But
Yeah, I it is funny when you see that when someone gets hit, it's like, what happened to your eye? And it's just like a tiny little bump. It's like it
yeah,
doesn't it doesn't look that bad at all. It's like
yeah, and then
could have fooled
Noda, he
me.
talks to Noda. He's just like, "Oh no, yeah, I fell down when I was drunk." And he's like, his
Yeah.
eye looks like it was genuinely beaten out of his skull. Like, it looks really, really bad.
Yeah. And so he mentions that it's Godzilla, and he explains that they managed to hurt it the most when they blew up the mine in its mouth. So his idea is to use a plane to kamikaze in, and he has the plan as part of it. But what initiated this was they're trying to figure out how they can bait it to the Sagami Trench specifically, and they have boats that are playing its voice to try to entice it over. And then Shikishima like proposes using a plane instead because a plane will be able to be more evasive. And from there, the mechanic helps on out, and you get the captain and Noda, well, the full crew of the ship talking about how like everyone's on board. I love how the end of this movie is framed like they're going out to war, like they're going out like, but it's on their terms and it's for their reason because the whole thing is voluntary. And it's that same energy of like a movie like Apollo 13 or The Martian, where it's just about like humanity coming together just for something that affects all of humanity. And it's like I love movies like that where you just see people on board for something that's bigger than them as individual people.
Uh, and now I'm just gonna make a passing comment on it because I don't want to spoil it for you, but you're gonna love Attack on Titan when we get to it. Just the way you're describing this movie, I'm like, oh man, you're gonna like it.
This is the most hilarious. I am so curious now that you've mentioned that, especially with what you talked about with X-Men 97. It's like, my God, maybe Attack on Titan is like
It does seem like to
just
be very much up your
meant to
alley.
watch. Wow.
We'll
So
get to it after Utopia.
yeah, and all the other 10,000 shows and movies to watch. So yeah, they find out that Godzilla is nearby because they've detected him, and this is that speech that I was mentioning where Noda talks about like kind of how the Japanese nation in general has been devaluing life. And there is that setup because as soon as I heard that line, I'm like, like no ejector seats on planes. It's like
Yeah, I was like, that was
that's probably what they're gonna do.
exactly like
And
they said no ejector seats, and then right before he gets on the plane, he says, "Oh, and another thing," and they cut away. I was like, that is obviously the ejector seat. You don't need to cut back to show it.
yeah, I honestly would say that was maybe the bigger part. Is he's like, hey, one more thing,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not gonna tell you now.
One
It's
more
like,
thing,
oh.
cut away. Like, okay, bro.
Because for me, the thing that was enough when he was looking in the plane. There's this part where like he looks and you see him like squint his eyes and he like puts his hand in sus. And at first I was like, wait a minute, is he sabotaging him? And then I was like, wait, I thought that was enough. The whole one more thing was like maybe a tad too far. It's kind of them showing their hand. But yeah, so Shikishima says goodbye to Akiko, who draws little potato drawings. And this kid, by the way, like she gives a good performance. I mean, she just kind of cries and only like kind of wants her mom the
She
entire movie through. But
wails
man,
when
like,
she cries. Like it's fucking
yeah,
heartbreaking. She's just like losing it twice. There's two moments where she's just crying. You're like, Jesus.
it's really sad. It feels really authentic. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that kid did a good job for what role she had. So yeah, it is finally the day of. Shikishima gets in the plane, and as he's leaving, there is a mysterious telegram that arrives at the house, for which he gets some weird looks. And then Godzilla arrives ahead of schedule and tosses the ship through,
You just see it
and Shikishima has to.
flying. And that was like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy because you really are on board. You're thinking they're like it'll all be on their
yeah,
terms. Then
the
all of a
plan
sudden
is
it's like,
gonna work, and then
uh-oh.
you just see a ship flying through the air.
It's like, well, there's a little bit of a wrinkle in our plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, Noda just says they just go anywhere, and they need Shikishima to lead it, and you get like classic monster movie like plane. And this scene in particular is really well done. Like entire just farm being destroyed by just like 3 steps from Godzilla and the plane moving around it. Like I said, if you look in the behind the scenes, the scene where they're on the boat and they're shooting with the mines, that was shot practically on a boat. But most of this third act, I don't know. I'm guessing that most of it was CGI because the plane cockpit was done practically. It's the classic, the plane itself is CGI, but the actual actor reacting is practically done.
Yeah.
And they did the same for the battleships. They built just platforms like with a rail that like looked like a ship and then CGI'd the rest of the ship around it. So and one of the funniest things is that the Godzilla rocking the ships at the end when they bring it back up from the plunge and it's like writhing and the ships are moving. They couldn't afford a rig that was like hydraulic that replicated like a ship rocking. So the actors just had to pretend that the ship was rocking and they had to use a camera to like to mimic the movement. It's funny thinking about the budget of this movie because the CGI looks really good, but you got to remember this is like apparently like $15 million budget, like when translated from yen, and that's technically like that's not even a mid-budget movie in Hollywood.
Yeah.
They were working with limited money, and the practical effects and how they meld that with the CGI is kind of what what's interesting to think about.
Yeah. And I mean, just in general, every single time where Godzilla uses the beam, the atomic beam, it just looks so good. It's
Yeah,
insane.
the
Like, just you see everything getting super bright blue, and his back moving. Like, it's phenomenal the way it's done.
Yeah, I watched the black and white version, Godzilla Minus One Minus Color, one of the times that I rewatched it, and apparently the director, he was originally he wanted Godzilla's like the blue of Godzilla's atomic breath to be the one thing that they cheated, like the one time that there was color, but they opted out of it, and like I get why because they wanted it to be like a full homage to like the original '50s movies that were in black and white, but it is missing. Like when you watch the movie, you're like, man, that the effect just isn't the same without that blue to it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it
Well,
looks
it's kind of
insane.
the thing, right? Because people always say like blue is not the kind of thing you see in nature, like not naturally. So it just looks like automatically your brain's like that looks off. Like it shouldn't look like that.
Yeah. Look, and which I mean, that's kind of part of the irony of it. That might have been one of the reasons why they made it blue is that like Godzilla is meant to be like a prehistoric creature that's like, a quasi dinosaur. So it's technically natural, but the unnatural part of it is all like the nuclear mutation.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
like,
what
of
I was gonna
course,
say. Is like the nuclear mutation of Godzilla as a whole. Like he as a character, it's like just like extremely mutated, like nuclear mutations. So it's just like representing that the eeriness of like something extremely off-putting and unnatural.
yeah. So they baited out. I do love how much they damage these ships. It's hilarious. They said they were originally meant to be like handed over to the UN, and they part of the plan is sacrificing two of them. They're just gone. But I'm like, I'm guessing the government was just like whatever. And I mean, bigger problems than those, but they used two ships to bait it out. And I do love that shot where like you have the ropes with the steering wheel. It's like, haha, just managed to remotely send those out. So
And I did think
they
that was very
corralled.
smart because like they had to account for the atomic beams in some way. So it was nice to have
Yeah,
like, okay, we're gonna throw away a boat, so that's our way of, you know, getting it off guard after it recharges. It has to recharge the beam, so it was smart.
yeah. Clever move to get rid of the one thing because that's what's pretty clever about the plan is like how distant they have to go because basically they just need to get Freon canisters attached to Godzilla somehow, and like cable is just the perfect way to do that. You go around it so that it can't get close by, and then you know string them taut. There you go. You've risk is essentially eliminated. That's the one thing that it can do, and like it's a one and done. Like if it manages to pull it off, then they're dead. So it wraps around, and then you get that familiar sound. I, I love how tense they make this third act. Like I was mentioning that, like in a lot of ways, this movie reminds me of Top Gun Maverick, and it's the whole like third act where like every part of the plan needs to go right in order, and there's a lot of that with like Godzilla's breath like coming at like just the wrong time.
Yeah.
And yeah, the actual plunge with this thing is insane. I I watched this in theaters, and that last shot of Godzilla just crushing like a can and the music cut off. Like the entire theater was like, oh, just like it's such a jolt where you like see it down, you're like, oh, and then all of a sudden, like the blues just extinguished, and it just
Oh
poof,
yeah, it was just like like there's a
damn.
sound effect where it's just like like it just sucks out like the air in the room like when you're watching it. It was very like I felt the air getting sucked out of the room. It was just like, oh holy shit, did we do it? And everyone's just looking around. Did we just beat it? Like that one moment where like, oh my god, did the plan work? I did want
Yeah,
to
there's
mention
just
though, and it's probably I don't know if you're gonna agree with me on this, but I did find the soundtrack in the third act a little bit too, and not even in the third act. There are other moments too where I found the soundtrack a little bit too adventurous when it should have been more like menacing.
uh
I did those moments were like,
well,
why are we having like an adventure tone right now when it should be like fighting for our lives, like super tense. It felt like, huh? I don't know. It stuck out
Well,
to me.
what that actually is it's a homage to the original theme. Like that, if you're
Right.
referring to like dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 that song is the original Godzilla theme from. And
Right.
what it is kind of the march of the humans. Like whenever there's montages of like the humans like getting trucks or like going out and doing something or like getting soldiers assembled, it's like it's the theme that represents the humans. So I think part of the reason why that is, it's like it's intentionally kind of a little out of
Right.
place, but
Yeah, it reminded me of the adventure theme in Lost, honestly, which is a theme I love. It's just the kind of thing
yeah,
where
a
it's
little
like it
actually.
feels too adventurous, when it's something that I feel like should have been more like s- like more like harder and like somber, I guess. Like very very
Yeah.
dark and very menacing. We're like we're fighting for our lives. This is the moment either we win or the entire world is doomed. Like, but it felt like, oh yeah,
I,
like it felt very Jaws, I guess. It wasn't like the
yeah.
Jaws way. Like it shouldn't have been like that at least.
I say they definitely play it like that during the plunge. The ascent, they change it a little bit. I think the song is called Last on the soundtrack, and it's
Uh,
like they use the same note like right before Godzilla is about to use its atomic breath after it's decompressed. It's like ba ba, like they just keep like escalating the same type of note, so the music changes a little bit, but
uh,
I would agree that it's on the more adventurous side. But so yeah, God's even in spite of all that, I do love that there's like 10-15 seconds of silence where you really are like, maybe it worked. It's like, nah.
yeah. It's the kind
So
of thing.
they
It's funny because every movie like this has that moment where you're like, "Oh my god, did it actually work? Did we win?" And then you have a second win for the villain, the monster or whatever. Every movie's like that, but it's still every time I get it gets me and I'm like, "Did we do it?" Movie
yeah,
magic, I
it's a
guess.
great genuine movie magic. There's no it's fine if it's something you're aware of.
Yeah.
And holy crap, how they depict the barotrauma with Godzilla. This is so brutal. Like, oh, like the white, especially its eyes, like they just go full white. It's like it doesn't have pupils. It's like Jesus. It's
Yeah, it's very
couldn't have happened
disturbing.
to a nicer monster, but my God, did the humans bring that thing to hell and back? It's
Yeah. And
like,
it survives. It's fascinating.
yeah, it's.
And honestly,
I
I
love
love
Kenji
the
looking at it. He's like, how the hell is it still alive?
yeah.
It's like, it's not damaged enough.
I love the effects when it gets up to when it gets to the surface again. It's just like healing, and it just looks like absolutely like destroyed, but it's still going. Like
Yeah. Well, that's what you got to imagine is that its ability to heal is probably like fighting the barotrauma
yeah,
like
it's kind of
it
like
would be
Deadpool
dead.
fighting the cancer. It's kind of how
Yeah.
I see it.
It's crazy stuff. So the CO2 plan fails because Godzilla bites through the canisters. There's this part where they're thinking they can't do anything. And I forgot to mention that, but the kid was they were talking about how that might not work as a plan, and the kid was mentioning that they could use the ships to lift Godzilla, but Kenji was like, "There's no way, it's too heavy." So this is definitely I feel like this is going for a little bit of a Dunkirk vibe where it's kind of all the just common ships, like it's not warships, it's just, regular boats from the bay. Like you
Yeah.
got to imagine this
I mean,
kid just went around and just
that was the Avengers Assemble moment, honestly, where everyone
yeah,
shows up.
it's very end game esque. Like, what are we gonna do? And then everyone shows up to like save the day, but it works really well
Yeah,
here.
I did think it
It's
works,
better
yeah.
than
I mean, it's like it's
I.
obviously like a cliche at this point, done in
Yeah,
a lot of things, but it's a reason there's a reason why it's a cliche. It actually
yeah.
does just work
Cliches
really
exist for
well.
a reason.
Yeah, it works really well when it is like set up properly and you don't have it like be extremely cheap like in Rise of Skywalker, for example. So
Exactly.
there is
That'll
a
forever be
nice
the
balance.
example. My God.
Yeah.
I. It's a little. I would still classify it as a nitpick because honestly, like lifting Godzilla from 700 meters is probably gonna have the same kind of effect. But I do love the idea of them like roping each other onto the destroyers like that. You would think that actually be a decent feat to coordinate, like how they would manage the.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
exactly
did
how you
find it
would
kind
make
of
that
funny how
work
we
and
just cut
row
and
up like.
they're all tied to the boat. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
I
guess
mean,
we're
I
skipping
I
over
would
that.
figure
Obviously
I'd
for
figure it'd
pacing
take a
it.
while.
Yeah,
Yeah, like probably an hour. And like I said, it probably wouldn't make all that much of a difference. The damage would probably be similar, but it is a little funny to think about how they would
yeah.
do.
It's the kind of thing
So
that's just like for movie's sake, it is cut, but it could be kind of funny to actually have to see them tying it up.
yeah. So they finally managed to bring Godzilla up, and dude, the how these shots are animated, like the pain Godzilla looks in, and just like how much he fucking hates the humans. It's like it is one insane atomic breath shot. I it is so cool that this movie won Best Visual Effects at the Academy Awards. It's the one time that a Godzilla movie won. I remember not being sure. I was like, maybe not, but I was like, come on, dude, please. And it won. And it deserved it because this movie
What?
looks amazing.
Yeah,
And
and I mean,
it
what other movies were competing for it that year? Was Guardians 3 competing?
I think so. What would have let me look it up.
Because like Guardians 3 is probably the only movie I can think of that actually has like visual effects are really good, and even then they had like four like I don't know 10 times the budget. So it's like because like the awards are always like best feat in something, best feat in visual effects.
Yeah.
This is the best
It
feat. 15 million for it looking as good as it did is much
yeah.
more impressive than a movie like Guardians 3 looking great like it does, but it costing like 200 million, you know.
Yeah, it was Godzilla Minus One, The Creator, Guardians 3, Dead Reckoning, and then Napoleon. So
That
yeah,
reckoning is kind of funny to be there because I don't think the
that
CGI looks great in that movie.
no, it does not look great at all. Honestly, mostly it looks bad. The Creator, that was the one that I was like, maybe that'd win, and similar reasons. $80 million for a Hollywood blockbuster. That's like limited, and that movie did look good.
Yeah.
Gareth Edwards does a really good job with the CGI, but I am glad they got their Oscar because my God, did they earn it? So yeah, that shot happens. You just get these reactions from the humans where it's just like, well, I guess this is about it. We did our best, and then Shikishima comes in, and like you said, you get that. They edit this really well with him activating the bomb, and then you get those last shots with Noriko's picture, and then him thinking about her, and then it's a blink and you miss a moment, but you can see him eject right
Yeah.
before, and it's a similar
It's the kind of thing where, like,
shot where
if you're expecting it, like I was, because I thought it was kind of like obviously set up that he was gonna do it. I was just like, yeah, obviously they're gonna have a like very quick see him eject, and they can't see it, and I think that's nice. I always like when stuff like that
yeah,
has something, because usually
Yeah,
like
when you
because
like
it's
go
not like
back
Dark
and
Knight Rises with the last minute thing, but it's just like okay, I'm sure he did that off screen. Okay, like you can actually see it fast and it's a setup at well, and it could feasibly have been done in real life, like him ejecting at the last second. You know?
yeah, it's always nice in movies when there's just little details like that where you're like, oh, like you
Yeah,
just and it just rewards rewatching it when you like see it in the background and you're just like, oh, I didn't notice that before. But like they cared enough to put that in there for the people that do care. So yeah, a similar thing with the music cut off, just like when Godzilla plunged, where there's like 5 seconds of silence before the explosion, and then you see that Shikishima managed to get out. And it's funny, they never cut to the mechanic until right after this happens. That's the other indicator right before they reveal it, because you see he's invested, and you're like, oh, like he wouldn't be invested if he didn't want him to live.
yeah.
So,
That was kind of
and it
the thing,
reframed.
like you just see him happy that he lived. It was like, yeah, that was the thing he told him. Which again is like, well, even more reason for me that they didn't need the flashback. I just think there's so many reasons why the
Yeah.
flashback was unnecessary.
I'm with it honestly, because I'm just like there you should know, you should be able to put it together that it's exactly what you said, like his reactions are enough. The flashback, you could infer this. I like just that last part of it, that he's just like,
I do
live.
like the
He like
dialogue
tells
with
him
him
that.
saying "live." Yeah, I do think that's cool.
Yeah.
It's
A-
it,
And it's short. It's not like, it doesn't like overstay its
yeah,
welcome for flashbacks, and it doesn't feel too handholdy, but it is, I would label it unnecessary. I'm like, you
yeah,
could cut this out and not much would change.
yeah. It's there's always a balance because I know that general audiences may not be like as invested as no paying attention to details, be like, oh, that's what's gonna happen. And it is sometimes nice to have that type of scene. It's it's part of why I kind of am not against the flashbacks in like Joker, for example, when we see like no
Yeah.
Sophie there, like oh it. Though part of it is just because we are realizing it at the same time that Arthur is in that movie. So I do kind of like try to be lenient on it, on flashbacks
Well,
as a whole. It's just it personally annoyed me, but I understand its value, especially like you said the line of like him saying "live." Like I thought that was really good for his character too.
yeah. Well, and I love that Joker's the example that I'm thinking of with that. But like movies that are like on the more interpretable side of the equation as well, those like flashbacks can help to make something seem more like real in
Uh-huh.
like movies that
I mean,
sometimes have
Mr.
different
Robot does that.
interpretations where, yeah, where like you see a flashback and you're like, oh, like you know that happened, and that
Yeah.
wasn't something that like someone just said. So yeah, it all depends, but not 100% necessary. And it is one of those things that I don't even think is necessarily supposed to be a twist here or anything like that. It's like,
I mean, yeah, they don't
if you've
even.
been
It's
paying
not even a
attention,
fake
you,
out. Like they say, "Oh no, look!" Like right after. So it's the kind of thing where like the movie isn't
yeah,
trying to hide that he survived. It isn't, Rise of Skywalker. Funny that I'm mentioning that again. It's
God.
not trying to get one
So,
over the audience. It's just genuinely like the characters are like, "Oh my god, he died." Oh no, actually, and it's just fine.
yeah. So Godzilla's atomic breath seemingly just rips the thing apart, and it's like, it is one of those things where like everything needs to come together at the same time. I mentioned that before, but like, they all the parts of the plan, and then Shikishima coming in at the last second, and it seems like it getting ready to use its atomic breath was like a key to being able to destroy it. What do you think about the salute at the end? It is an interesting. I've seen a couple of different people with different takes on it, and it could be a reference to the original Godzilla because there's something similar. But do you think they're saluting Godzilla, or do you think they're saluting Shikishima?
Shikishima. I think it's obviously they're saluting Shikishima.
But they show Godzilla like right before that. Like they emphasize Godzilla like breaking apart. I don't know. I feel like they're saluting Godzilla.
I don't think so. I think that'd be really strange for them to do.
Well, I do too. The take on it, if that were what they were going for, is probably that, like, Godzilla was like still a magnificent creature and like a force of nature, and it's like, it had to go, but they're like, it was something that was kind of insane. But yeah, like Shikishima is just a classic respect thing if that's what they're going
Yeah,
for.
I thought it was just like
I
Shikishima, you did your job, you saved us, and we salute you. I thought that was it.
Yeah. I don't know. I've seen people go both ways, which is just what I find interesting. But I'd be curious what the filmmakers themselves maybe would say they were going for. So yeah, lots of like war imagery invoked by this shot of them coming in, and like I said, with the ships, this is something that's in the CGI breakdown that you can see on YouTube, where the ship, like the platform again, like they couldn't move those platforms, so they actually CGI'd the shot after to like make it look like it. They like digitally moved the characters on the stationary platform to make it look like a moving ship because again, they didn't have the money to do it, and it's pretty clever how they stitched the CGI together. So, and then the ending, the woman from the neighbor from I wish I knew the characters' names and how to pronounce all of them, but the neighbor from Shikishima, she comes with Akiko and the mysterious telegram, and you see that Noriko is alive, and I just, dude, survivability. I swear to God, this actually brought me to tears in the theater. I was just so happy that Shikishima got his happy ending. And this was the thing I was not expecting because I expected the ejector seat. I expected they'd be able to kill Godzilla, but like this I did not see. And like getting it, I was just so happy that he got a happy ending. It was like, oh my God, yay.
Yeah, I could get
But
it if you're like very emotionally invested in his story specifically. That you it would be. I, sometimes I have that with stories where it was just like I don't even care if it makes sense or not. I'm just happy for the character when you're so invested in a character. Um, so yeah, I kind of kind of get that vibe. It wasn't for me specifically because I was like, whoa, this movie didn't impact me massively like emotionally, but yeah, I can understand it.
I gotcha. It's amazing. And then that last line is your war finally over.
Oh yeah, that was a great
And
line.
yeah, it connects brilliantly, and it's just so cool to leave these characters on that note. And like I said, this is another thing you were mentioning Godzilla himself being set up as like a Godzilla will come back. My bigger thing is the mark on her neck because like I said, the apparently that is a piece of Godzilla, and that kind of cheapens it for me because I'm like, well, what about that? Is she going to be okay? Is she going to like die of like Godzilla sickness in the next movie? And I just I would
I
have
mean,
preferred they didn't,
if she
and they just
dies
hand
and then
waved her
they bring her
survive.
back and then they actually kill her again in the next movie, I think that would be really bad, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with that, but that feels like it's just that one last note of, well, I guess we've got that until the next movie. But if these same filmmakers come back, I'd be game for whatever they're doing. I don't realistically know how you top this or even like follow it up, but I mean, you
Yeah,
never
it's
know.
kind
They
of
made it work
why
with the
I
Planet of
would
the
I
Apes movie.
it's
Mm,
kind of why I would like it if they were just like the same filmmakers doing another monster movie, but not having anything to do with this universe. Like, I feel like these characters and
yeah,
their stories done, and you don't need to do a sequel per se. But if you want to make more movies, I'm down. Like, make your anthology, make your your own like monster movies unrelated to this one.
well, seriously, I want to watch more of the films that this guy did. Apparently, he's done animated movies. Like, that's one of the reasons why he has like experience with CGI. But like, he has a bunch of other movies that he's done before this. This is just what kind of got his name like thrown more to the forefront. But I'm like, I want to check out his other stuff because I'm like, if they're half as good as this, then there's probably some solid stuff. And I love the music too. There's a lot of just the filmmaking in general. I want to look into the different people that were involved in this and see what else they've done because it's just this is a classic example of a movie that like defies like culture. It's kind of like Parasite. There's some movies that it doesn't matter what language they're in or like where they're from or like if they're made in Hollywood or not or how much money. It's just that they're like a movie that people can connect to. And it's Godzilla. It's a popular IP, so like there's that as well. But I this is a movie that seems to just connect with people regardless of like, what country they're from.
Yeah, people did really seem to love this movie in general.
Yeah. That's the breakdown. I dig this movie. I gave it a 9 before, and I would flirt with the 10, but I'm like like I was mentioning, Orco survival is like questionable. S What was the ejector seat thing, though? That's my thing. Is like there are certain things that I that you can pick out as being a little bit like bizarre, like not the greatest writing. I'd say Norco's survivability is probably like the clearest, flaw. It is one of those things where it's like sheep should probably be dead, right? It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But for the most part, this is pretty rock solid. It all depends on like how much you really connect with the characters of the story. And for me anyway, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I I don't know, it's kind of because the way you hyped it up, maybe. I was kind of expecting to be blown away. And for me, it was kind of just like, yeah, solid, like the best Godzilla movie I've seen, but like the bar is really low for that.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the other thing. It's like there's not too much to compete with.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why I checked out the OG and Shin Godzilla to kind of get a lay of the land. I
Yeah.
certainly have not seen a better Godzilla movie than this. I'm not sure like what. Apparently, it like was made it on like the top 5 of a lot of different people's lists. I'm guessing most people that are like ranking Godzilla just automatically put the OG Godzilla, but like not gonna lie, dude, that movie's a classic, but it's not amazing. It's like not like the greatest. I always love that with like, classics. Like, there's some movies that people are like just don't want to not give a 10 out of 10. It's like, dude, it's okay to give this a 7 and say that it's kind of dated and like it doesn't exactly like work all that well today, even though it's like historically important. And like, yeah, the first Godzilla is kind of like that. It's like it's a great movie that's like really important, but like, little dated and not the most amazing character stuff.
I mean, it's not. It's fine to acknowledge the impact something had while also acknowledging, it is of its time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I liked it. I just wasn't blown away by it. I thought it was a very solid movie. I think maybe the thing was that it wasn't really like extremely original. I can see so many of its parts
Mm,
just being very similar to other stuff. Like you compared it a lot to Top Gun Maverick. That did remind me of that. Some of like Saving Private Ryan with the characters and just uh
Jaws and
Jaws.
not
Yeah,
to I
that's the
was
one.
well, and I was mentioning as well that the character archetypes themselves are very similar to like other movies.
Uh,
There's plenty of movies that have similar types of characters, but it was what you were mentioning, the whole like tropes exist for a reason. Like it just a matter of like how well you think they pull it off in the actual film.
yeah,
What do you think you'd give it out of 10?
I gave it a 7.
7?
7. Yeah, though after talking to you, I might give it an 8. I don't know, because like in terms of enjoyment, it's
You
probably
don't
closer to a
have to.
7. But I did the stuff you pointed out. I was like, yeah, you know what, this movie probably has more to offer than I was giving it credit for. So 7 or 8.
I would honestly recommend rewatching. This is the thing. Some of my favorite movies and like shows and games are the ones that like can be rewatched, and I've rewatched it at least 4 times. Like I find it very rewatchable, and that might be one of the reasons why like it vibes with me a little bit more than it might with other people. But it's I found it worth it and rewatchable.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that
Yeah,
that is all.
I love this movie. I don't think we mentioned, by the way, spoilers, but we'll spoil everything for pretty much all these breakdowns. But my God, like watch Godzilla Minus One if you haven't. I love it, and it's great.
Yeah. Um, with that, it's time for my recommendation for our next episode. Um,
Oh my.
Oh my. I already spoiled it for you, but the idea for me is we have both seen Roadhouse, the remake, which is a movie it's a movie. And
It's weird. Let me tell you
yeah.
something. I remember. not many people are talking about it nowadays. Like the discussion kind of died down. Everyone was just dismissive of it, and I had fun. I don't know about you. I had it. There are some parts where the movie gets ridiculous, like the third act in particular is
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, that is my big problem is the third act, but we'll get to that next week. So the idea is we're going to pit two movies against each other. Whoa. It is The Fall Guy, which we were talking about David Leitch today, and I kind of want to talk to you
Yep.
about that movie because I genuinely really like it. And we're gonna talk about Roadhouse because I think it's kind of interesting. Like they're both like action movies, starring like this very famous white guy, like with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Gosling. And I feel like the Fall Guy achieves what it's going for a lot better. And I think there's some interesting comparisons to make, especially because of how absurd Roadhouse gets when it is such an understated movie before the third act. So there's some interesting conversations to be had. I imagine the conversation would be mostly about the Fall Guy, but I do want to talk about both of them and compare them a little because in my mind, ever since I watched the Fall Guy, I've been like, this is just such a better version of Roadhouse. So yeah,
Well, one of the funniest things about that we can probably talk about is like 80s movies homages, because I've heard that that's the thing, is like the Fall Guy's in love with like old Hollywood and like classic, heavy stunt work emphasis rather than like, CGIing over everything or fix it in post. And like they were probably going for something like that in the new Roadhouse. It's like it's a remake of an 80s movies, but there's so many remakes, like the Point Break remake, that just fail at like modernizing like a classic story that was like told in the 80s. And like that, what they did with the villains in that movie, I swear to God, like it, because have you seen the original
I
Roadhouse?
haven't. I'm probably gonna watch it to prepare for next episode.
The original Roadhouse is better. It's still not a good movie, but it at least has a good like charm and like sense of humor to it. And it like they don't take the plot too seriously. It's the classic, the real estate tycoon is trying to take over everything. It's like full out like, crime faction families, and they like get Conor McGregor. It's it's weird how they play the new Roadhouse. They just take it a little bit too seriously because of the weird like UFC thing they're going for, that which was not in the original movie.
I would imagine not. All right, so it seems like it's
Yeah.
going to be an interesting discussion. We already have plenty to say about Roadhouse, and you haven't seen The Fall Guy yet, but I would
Yeah.
very much like to hear your thoughts, especially because you seem to like David Leitch. Leitch.
Yeah, I've been meaning. I have it on Blu-ray. I just haven't bought it to sit down and start it. But
Well, now
I
you
remember,
have to. Now you're forced to watch it.
honestly, when it came out, I remember like the reaction seemed to be mostly indifference. People were just like, it was just like Furiosa, where it was like everyone was just take it or leave it. Which like that was one of the reasons I didn't really bother in theaters, because like there wasn't not too many people were saying that it was like properly awesome or interesting. Like, I mean, I think I heard more about Bullet Train than I did about the Fall Guy.
Me too, honestly. I didn't see many people talking about The Fall Guy in general. Which is a
Oh
shame.
no,
I
I
would have
mean
enjoyed to watch that in theaters, honestly. It's such a
on
fun movie.
there's a lot of like movies just in general that are kind of getting that treatment of just getting forgotten about
Yeah.
after like a
I mean, it's
week.
fascinating that Furiosa got that when it is like a prequel to Fury Road of all movies, like
Yeah.
starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth. And it is genuinely a great movie. I love Furiosa so much. It's fascinating.
Yet another one I need to get around to. All I know for sure about that, I keep seeing the same clip posted over and over again on social media of like the the guys with like sails or whatever that like lift them up and then like get them onto the rig, and then the camera like goes up. Everyone's like, "Whoa!" It's like, I don't know why that clip in particular keeps getting shared around, but
It
I
is
know
kind of
that
interesting because I
much.
think Furiosa, the action set pieces are much, much, much less of a focus than they are in Fury Road. So the story is very much
Yeah.
about Furiosa as a character than it is about like the in general like the action. which is what was the focus of Fury Road, and what made it so special was the amazing action set pieces. Furious is much more understated in that way. It's still, a Mad Max movie. It still has some amazing set pieces, but not nearly to the same level.
Yeah.
That could be another one we could watch. There's many things we can talk about. This
really
podcast has a lot of stuff that we can talk about for a long time to come. It's kind of why we started
have
it.
ambitions, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah, so that'll definitely be interesting. I unique ones to compare for sure, but I think I see your angle with how we can kind of talk about them in terms of what they both do.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll catch y'all next time for our Roadhouse the Fall Guy discussion. So you prepare and you watch those two, people at home. Because otherwise
Please
we're gonna
do.
spoil it for you. But yeah, we'll catch you next time, folks. See ya.
See ya. Thanks for watching.
Bye bye.